Find the coefficient of x squared when 1 plus x over 1 minus x to the power 2 is expanded. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is let's rewrite this. What we have is 1 plus x over 1 minus x. This is raised to the power 2. So this can be written as 1 plus x raised to the power 2 times 1 minus x raised to the power negative 2. So since we're going as far as x to the power 2, the expansion we're going to use, or the formula we're going to use, is this one. 1 plus px raised to the power n is equals to 1 plus npx plus n minus 1 px squared. All this is over 2 factorial. Now, we're going to apply this for both of them. So I can have it as 1 plus x squared times 1 minus x raised to the power negative 2. So I'll start with this one. So for this one, the value of n is 2. I'm applying this same formula. P in this case is 1, which is the coefficient of x. So this will give me 1 plus npx. So n is 2, p is 1, x, like that. We come here, n again is 2, then 2 minus 1 px, so that is just x squared because p is 1. All this is over 2. Okay, I multiply this now with expansion for this. For this one, our p is negative 1, our n is negative 2. So 1 plus, here where there's n, I'll put negative 2. Where there's p, I'll put negative 1, x plus n is negative 2. So that will be negative 2 minus 1. P here is negative 1, so negative x squared. All this is over 2 factorial. Like that. So if that's the case, I can just write this now as the original. 1 plus x over 1 minus x raised to the power 2. This is equals to, so let me just simplify what I have. 1 plus 2x. Here we just get the 2 cancels. So this is just a 1. So x squared. This whole thing is multiplying with 1, negative, negative. So it will be positive 2x. Let's see what happens here. This will give us negative 3. Okay. So since this is negative 3, we'll say negative 3 times negative 2 becomes a positive value. So if that's the case, these 2 and these 2 can cancel. But remember, the negative from these 2 and the negative 3 that comes from here becomes positive. So it is 3 negative x squared. Since it's a square, it will just be x squared, like this. So now we are looking for the coefficient of x. So now it's important to note that since we're expanding these two, we have to multiply this bracket times this bracket. But the whole expansion is not necessary. What we're going to do is this. How do we get x power 2? Well, if we multiply 1 times this, we'll get an expression which has x power 2. Also, if I multiply x times this, I'll get an expression which gives me x power 2. And if I multiply this with this, I'll get an expression which gives me x power 2. So if that's the case, I'll say 1 times this is, that's just 1, and just write it, times 3x squared, plus the other terms in between, of course, 2x times 2x. The other terms in between, and lastly, x squared times 1. So x squared times 1. So these dots simply mean that expanding this whole thing, there are other terms in between. There's x power 3, there's x power 1, but we don't need them. We're only interested in x squared. So if that's the case, multiplying these two will give us 3x squared. Here we'll get 4x squared. Here we'll get x squared. So adding these will just give us 8x squared. So the coefficient of x squared is simply 8. So coefficient is 8. So there you have it. That's the answer. So thank you very much. I hope it makes sense. In case you have a question, feel free to ask in the comments.